Hi, it's Sandy, and today I'm bringing you my February wrap up. In the month of February, I managed to read a whopping 15 books, which is less than I expected to read, but also more than I expected to read, which is an oxymoron. Because, yeah. I stupidly thought I was going to blast through a whole load of... I pulled a TBR together that was literally every single romance book on my TBR. But what I like to do for my TBRs is pull books that I want to read at the time. And if I don't make it through all of them, that's fine. I can go off TBR. It's not a hard TBR. A lot of people are calling them MBRs now, but they're all on my TBR. Like, these are the ones I want to read. So to be like, I'm too old for new vocabulary, right? I'm 31. Leave me alone. Did you hear my knee just clang? I'm an old lady. Leave me alone. Anyway, yeah, whenever I pull my TBR, it's never like a ironclad, you must read this. So yeah, I'm not mad at that. I go off TBR, I will add books, I will DNF books, I will put books off. So more books went off of my TBR. Like, I did DNF books, but I read in total 15 books. So I'm finally using my old phone to have like my list open instead of using my computer, which sounds like it's going to take off. So hopefully this should be a much smoother way of doing things, which is great. So I'm just going to jump right in. 15 books. I am really, really happy with that. I did get more books off of my TBR than I expected because I did DNF some books. So I will go through all of this and I will explain. The first thing I read was The Housekeeper by Talbot Finch, and this is a novella, a short story that is available on Kindle. I got it on a Stuff Your Kindle day, so I got it for free, and it is available to purchase. I don't think it is available in a hard copy edition. I think it is only available on Kindle. And this is about a disabled man back in the, I want to say Victorian or Edwardian era. I can't remember, there is a date on it. Like, it does say what like year it is, but I don't know my years. I don't know if it's Victorian, Edwardian, Georgian. Technically I'm an Elizabethan, so like I'm a secondary Elizabethan, but you know, I don't know my dates, right? I don't know. It's back when being gay was like illegal, and he's gay and disabled, and he lives in this flat that his sister basically pays for because his sister married a very wealthy man, and she kind of looks after him, but like kind of like looks after him from afar because obviously he's disabled. I didn't explain how he's disabled. So he has an amputation. I don't know if it's from like partway down his arm or like further up, but he has lost part of his arm. I can't remember which arm it was, and I think it's his left. And because of that, in this day and age, he can't work. And so this novella promises to look at him being disabled and gay and having a lot of mental health issues because of being disabled and gay. And then his sister hires a housekeeper to come and look after him, to clean the house, which is a mess because he is, you know, depressed and an alcoholic, and it's strewn with gin bottles and a mess, and he doesn't look after himself. Like, a lot of the time he just walks around naked because he doesn't have any clean clothes, because he doesn't bother to, he has to go to like a laundromat type thing. Not a laundromat like we know them, but like a laundry place to have his clothes cleaned. And he doesn't want to do that because people stare at him because he doesn't have an arm. Or he perceives that people stare at him. Probably people do, but he perceives it to be a different way. And so he doesn't look after himself because of it. It's a whole thing. And so his sister hires a housekeeper to come look after him. And the housekeeper arrives, and it is not like a woman like you would expect a servant to be, but it is a man. And he's just like, absolutely not. Like, I'm not having this man in my space, like judging me and looking down his nose on me, and like, you know. And it turns out that the housekeeper is also gay, and they fall for each other through these interactions, and Like, he is so curmudgeonly, and he's like, because he's a young man, he's in his 20s, and he's so curmudgeonly, and he thinks like he's looking at me like this because of my arm, like I'm not going to be ashamed of my arm, and blah blah blah, and like he's looking at you like that because he likes you. Like, it's because he's gay and he likes you, but he's also scared of you finding out that he's gay because he doesn't know you're gay, and he thinks if you find out that he's gay that you're going to do something bad to him. Like, it's such a, like, I love this book. It promised a lot and it delivered, and it's only 45 pages long. I bow down to the author. Like, well done. I think this was my favourite read of the month, and it was my first read of the month. Well done. I implore you all to go and buy this and read this. It was fantastic. Absolutely incredible. Loved it so, so much. I just love these characters. I love them so much. And I believe there is another book set in this. It's not a companion per se. There is another book set where these characters do appear, and it's another gay romance set in this world. And these characters are just like mentioned on the periphery and stuff like that. So I love this so much. Honestly, like, it was promising big things and it delivered. The next thing I read was the one that just like I just kept like talking about, and that was Fling by J.F. Murray. And this I kept describing as the Pina Colada song in a book in modern time, because it is. It is about a couple whose names I have forgotten because I'm terrible at names, Tara and Colin, and they are going through IVF and it's failed for a third time, and Tara says that is enough. I'm not doing that again. I'm not going through that again. No. And Colin basically is a dick about it, and he's like, well, no, we said we wanted to have a family, like, you're not giving up on this. And she's like, I'm sorry, who's getting the eggs implanted into them and having to have everything happen to them every single time, not to mention all the hormone shots and the mood fluctuations, and like, you know, like, she's the one having to go through it, and he's like, no, you're not giving up. And she's like, excuse you. And it just sets off this whole chain reaction of them realising that they are not happy together. They are coming to resent each other, and having a baby was the only thing that was going to keep them together. And they forget why they fell in love with each other in the first place. Running alongside this is this app that has been in the news, and they hear about it, like, she hears about it on the news, on the radio, as she's going to work. And it's this app where married people can go to have a fling. It's called Fling. And they can go to have affairs. And so she is in advertising, and this company are going to her advertising company to advertise, basically. Take a shot every time I said advertise. Don't. Just kidding, you'll die. And she's like, well, I'm going to sign up to it just to see, like, so I can advertise, like, so I can actually market this thing. And our assistant is just like, our assistant is such a Gen Z. And she's like, you should totally do it. And she's just absolutely stirring the pot. And so she does it, and you have to put like a fake name and fake details and stuff like that. And what she does is she puts in a fake name, but she puts in her true her true desires. And you're not allowed to put like pictures or meet like face to face. Like, you're not allowed to. The whole point of this is that you don't know who you're talking to. And then through other circumstances, her husband's like friend at work, his like best friend and boss, who's a total flake, ends up like convincing him to sign up to the app as well. And again, he puts in a fake name but his real desires. And they end up matching very, very highly. Like, they come in as like one of those like really like high % matches. And so they start talking on this app, and it like they flip-flop about, they come off the app because they feel guilty, they go back on, like that sort of thing. And they are their real selves. Like, they have these conversations that they should be having in real life on this app, and they like, it's the reasons they fell in love with each other, it's the reasons that they should be together is coming out in this app. But while at home there's all these barriers because they won't communicate, and it's the real reasons that people don't communicate in relationships. It's the real barriers that people have in relationships, and the things that lead people to break up because communication is not happening. Like this, I love this book. I thought it was so well written. See, when I find out, and I know I'm going to upset somebody by saying this, and I'm sorry. See, when I found out J.F. Murray was a man, I was shocked. Genuinely shocked. I did not think, like, from all the romance novels you've seen written by a man, I did not think a man could write a book like this. I was seriously impressed. And so obviously, like, we get to the end, it's a romance novel, it's a second chance romance. They realise at the end, like, they have this one last moment where they go back on the app and it's like, meet me at this place. And when they get there, they realise it's each other and they're like, what? Like, they have this whole moment where it's like, huh? What the hell? And they realise that they have this whole realisation of, like, they weren't communicating and, like, they you know, it all works out and they have this communication and things like that. And it's just like, it's equal measures extremely frustrating and extremely beautiful, because I don't even know how to describe it. Like, I really, really enjoyed this, while at the same time it infuriated me. And I kept flip-flopping back and forward with they need to be together and they shouldn't be together, because both of them were awful to each other. See, when they were themselves, they were awful to each other. Like, as Tara and Colin, they were awful. As Claire and Jack, they were meant to be together. Like, it's just that thing where you can't see the wood for the trees. Like, and I think it's a great example of how relationships break down, and how if you just can communicate with your partner, you can and break down those barriers. You can not necessarily fix things, but get a better understanding of your relationship and see that there's not necessarily things that need fixing, but just adjusted, or perspectives need to be changed. You know, maybe it's not that somebody's not doing something because they're trying to annoy you, but they're not doing it because there's something else going on that needs some understanding from you. You know, it's like, we as people, we're so tit for tat, and sometimes you need to stop. Like, you need to stop and take a step back and think, do I really need to be this petty? And that's where this has gotten them. I really, really enjoyed it. And I know this is not going to be for everybody, but I really did enjoy it. And it really is like the Pina Colada song. I think it is deeply inspired by the Pina Colada song, because that's the whole point in the song, is that he reads an ad, like, they're away, I think they're on holiday, this couple. He reads an ad in a paper where, like, someone is looking for a fling, an affair, or someone to run away with. And he's like, that sounds exactly like the person I'm looking for. He writes back to them. They correspond a couple of times. They decide to meet. And when he walks into the bar, it's his wife. And he's like, oh, right. We were actually perfect for each other the whole time. We just didn't communicate. And obviously, we need to have a discussion, because both of us were in the process of trying to cheat on each other and leave each other. But this also shows that we're actually supposed to be with each other. It's a whole, there's so much complexity to it, but yeah, I just love things that look at messy human, like, stuff. I love messy humans. I love it so much. Next, I read Iris Kelly Doesn't Date by Ashley Herring Blake. This is the third and the last in the, I want to call it the Bright Falls series. I might be wrong, but I want to call it the Bright Falls series. So this follows Iris Kelly, and in the previous book, which was Astrid's book, things kind of blew the hell apart when we found out that Iris's girlfriend had a wife and a child. And Iris was the other woman, and Iris was not okay with that. And it kind of ruined love for her. And so even though her friends were happily coupled up, Iris was like, that's it, I'm done. Like, I'm done with dating, I am done with love, I'm done with romance. I'm just going to have sex and that will do me fine. Except in the back of her mind, it's not really true. Like, you can't really just switch up your emotions and things like that way, you know. And so one night Iris tries to have a one-night stand with Stevie, and Stevie is not your one-night stand kind of girl. Stevie is trying to prove that she is over her ex and that she's totally fine. Totally fine. Absolutely fine. She is fine. She is not fine. And so Stevie goes home with Iris and probably vomits on her. It's the anxiety. It's just really gets to her. And so they're like, it's fine, we're never going to see each other again. So of course they are going to see each other again. Iris is persuaded by one of her friends to one of their other friends to go for this Amdram, like gender swapped, like twisted version of a Shakespeare play that I can't remember which one it is, and Iris ends up playing opposite Stevie, and they kind of have to lie a little bit since it's being done, like the whole production is being done by Stevie's ex. Now Stevie is an up-and-coming actor, and Stevie is excellent at being, like, she's an excellent actor, so doing an Amdram is kind of, it's not below her, but like everybody knows that she is doing this as a favour. Like Stevie doesn't think it's below her, Stevie thinks like this is, she's like, of course I'll do it, like it's helping you out. And all of her friends are like, you do realise that this is wasting your time when you should be going for Broadway. And she's like, it's helping her out, it's fine. And now Iris has ended up playing across from like the love interest with Stevie, and they don't want her ex to know that Stevie is kind of pathetic, and so they decide to fake date. And as we all know, fake dating ends up as real dating, and I love a good fake dating trope. Anything that forces people together, I love it. I do. I love it so much. And so yeah, they end up in a situation where they are kind of forced together, and the chemistry they have is just off the charts. And yeah, as you can imagine, they end up together, but it's not as simple as that. Like, they both have things they need to develop within themselves, which is what Ashley Heron Blake does fantastically well, in my opinion. She always has these characters who are messy and flawed, and it's never a case of I will find someone and they will fix me. It's I will find someone, realise that I need to fix me, and I will do the work to fix me. And I love that. I love that about these characters. As I said, I love a messy character. I love it. I love it so much. I still think Astrid is my favourite, but this is definitely my second favourite. Delilah is my third favourite. Unfortunately, I didn't really do well with Delilah. I don't like her as a character. If I met her as a person, I wouldn't want to speak to her again. But the rest of them, I really like the rest of them. Yeah, I really enjoyed this. Really enjoyed all the drama. This was definitely a comedy of errors, and I think that's definitely what Ashley Heron Blake was going for. The next thing I read was Boyfriend Material by Alexis Hall, and this was one that I kind of got bullied into reading by Tori, because she would not stop going on about it, and on about it, and on about it, and it got stuck in my head like an earworm, and I couldn't stop thinking about it. And thinking about it, and thinking about it. And I think, did I buy this or did somebody gift me it? I think I bought this. I can't even remember. But this is kind of like similar-ish, not even similar-ish version. It reminds me of Red, White and Royal Blue. Simply because it is a male romance. And one of them is from like a more upper echelon area of society, and one of them is from a more lower echelon, that's not even a thing, but like a more, and I say this with like disdain, common area of society. So we've got one who is a barrister, that is Oliver, and he is, you know, he fits in with like lords and nobility and stuff like that. And then we've got Luke, whose parents are ex-rock star. One of them is a kind of like currently working rock star, and the other one is an ex-rock star, and he is seen as a fuck up, basically. He works for a dung beetle preservation charity, who is the only person in the country that will actually hire him, because everybody else sees him as a liability. He is the kind of child of a rock star that is in the news all the time for his exploits, and by exploits I mean like one time he tripped over his shoe lace being undone, and they had him all over the tabloids being like, he's on a bender, and it's like, no he's not, but you're going to play it that way because you're awful. Tabloids in general are like, honestly, like the gutter press in the UK is like the lowest of the low. I have absolutely no sympathy for them. I do not like the way the press works in this country. I really, really don't. And paparazzi, like honestly, paparazzi getting like shoved into canals and stuff, top tier. Anyway, so yeah, he's treated very badly by people because they just don't understand how to behave as humans. And so his job is at risk, and he needs to find some way to give himself credibility as a good person, which he is already, but he needs like an outward way to do this. And so he needs to look for a fake boyfriend who has that outward credibility. And one of his friends suggests Oliver, who he already has met and is like, no. And they're like, well, he's a barrister, he's single, he is a good person, he's well known, like, you know. So Luke is like, fine, I'll meet him. And it goes disastrously wrong. He explains everything to Oliver, and Oliver's like, I'll do it. Like, don't worry about it, like, I'll do it. And Luke's like, okay, what's the catch? And Oliver's like, who hurt you? And Luke's like, where do you want to start? And so, yeah, they fake date. And again, it very quickly ends up as like not fake dating. I love a fake dating like trope. And yeah, I love these two. Like, they're both messy and they're both imperfect. And I feel like they would get along with Alex and Henry. I really, really do. And I do already have husband material that is on my TBR for March. And I'm really looking forward to getting into that. Alexis Hall writes a good story, and I'm very excited to continue with Luke and Oliver because they deserve the world. And I love a couple who really defend each other, and this is something that they have going for them. Like, they defend each other even when they look like absolute knobs doing it. Next up is Sleeping Giants by Sylvia Novelle. This is a sci-fi. This is me like dipping my toe into like sci-fi. And this is told in the format of interviews of this unknown agent and people involved around the discovery of this giant hand. And it starts off with this little girl who falls into this pit and lands inside this giant hand, this giant metal hand. And years later, she becomes a scientist who's the foremost expert on this giant hand. And the hand wasn't alone. It was in this room that was covered in these glyphs of some kind that they believed to be a language, but they could never work out. The language linguists tried for years and nobody could work out what the hell it meant. But nowadays, like 30 years on or so, they've discovered that it's not just the hand that's present, there's the rest of the body. And so they start collecting. This goes through as they are collecting these pieces. This is a series. I don't know how many books are in the series, but this basically follows them. So it follows mainly, so you've got the agent, the unnamed agent, and you've got the pilot of the, like a helicopter pilot who flies around to try and find these pieces. You've got the scientist who originally found them, and you've got the linguist that is trying to work out what the hell the language is. And so you've got these people with an intersperse of like government officials and other people that are interviewed as they are trying to find and complete this giant robot, basically. It's not though, it's kind of like, it's like solid metal, but it moves. Like, it is a robot, but not like a robot like we would say. It is this basically like big, smooth, futuristic looking robot thing that they can control. Like, they can move around. Like, there's this thing inside it, there's this ball thing inside it, and they can like link into it and like move it around. But only 2 people can link into it. One has to move the legs, one has to move the top half. And it will only link up to people specifically based on their genetics. And they don't know why, and they have to work that out, and yeah. And so this follows them as they try and find all the pieces, and they work out that they can move this thing once they find all the pieces. This ends on a cliffhanger, and I am so intrigued to find out what's going on next. But this book is so confusing. Like, there's so much going on. It jumps days. Like this jumps, so it goes by file number. So you've got file 161, and then it jumps to file 182, and then file 189, file 229. Like, it jumps big chunks. And so you're never kind of getting all the information, but you know more than, like, because you're getting information from multiple sources, you kind of know more than some of the characters know. But you also don't, because they may know more than they're letting on. It's like, it's so mind twisty, but I really enjoy it. It's the kind of sci-fi that I like. Like, it's not let's go out into the stars and like, it's not that kind of stuff. I don't really do like Star Wars as books, Star Trek as books. I can't do that kind of thing. But this is the kind of sci-fi that I'm kind of getting used to and really starting to enjoy reading. So I am looking forward to reading more of this. And yeah, like, it's so... I have more questions than answers. But I think that's the point. I think that's the point. Next, I read Twice Bitten by Lindsay Sands. This is just a continuation of my reread of my Lindsay Sands books. And this one follows Elspeth, who is one of the cousins of the original family that the books are about. And she has moved away to Canada and is living above this woman who's like her landlord, and meets her grandson, whose name I can't remember. And of course it's probably in here and I can't see him. Wyatt. And Wyatt is her life mate. But the twist is, Wyatt has met Elspeth before and he doesn't know why she can't remember him. And so he is trying to work out why she can't remember him. She has no idea what is going on. And on top of that, someone's trying to kill her. Oh, and then her mother turns up. And turns out her mother is abusively controlling. Now, we've met Elspeth and the twins and their mother before. Like, we thought we knew. I say we, as a reader, you think you know this family. You think you know how, like, Marguerite, for example, is so loving. She just wants the best for her children. And she is, like, top tier mother, top tier mother-in-law. Everybody loves Marguerite. And you really think that her mum, who is Marguerite's sister-in-law, and I can't remember her name, that's really terrible, begins with an M as well, but I can't remember her name. You think that she's going to be like that as well, but she's really not. She's actually exceedingly mentally ill. Like, it comes from, like, mental illness. So her first life mate from Atlantis they both had, like, a lot of children by that point, by the point that he died. So they had a lot of children and they were mercenaries, and another mercenary was like, well, I want your contracts. So he lured them out to a job that wasn't really a job, and on the way he trapped them and slaughtered all of them, but one, who is Cale, who we met in one of the other books, who's Alex and Cale. He's the one who pretended to be a chef and wasn't actually a chef. It was a good book. And so yeah, he slaughtered all of them, so she lost all but one son and her husband in one night. So her husband and all of her sons, bar one, were killed. Every single one of them. And so after she met her life mate and had her other kids, she held on to them so tightly that it became like abusive. Like, she was controlling them, and it turns out she's been doing this to her daughters as well. And yeah, that played into this as well. So yeah, this was fantastic. I couldn't remember this from the first time I read it. I actually questioned whether or not I'd read this. Like, genuinely questioned whether or not I'd read this before, because I could not remember it. I absolutely loved this. I thought this was great. And yeah, I've not found a Lindsay Sands book that I haven't loved. So I will be continuing my reread next month, and I have nothing else to say. The next thing I read was a little bonus chapter that Andy Weir put out for The Martian, which is called Lost Souls, which I love, because, like, Lost Souls and Lost Sols, because a sol is a day on, like, other planets. Anyway, it's called Lost Souls, and it is a lost chapter, so Lost Souls is lost days, and it is basically on the way to the Acacia Planitia. Is it on the way to Acacia Planitia? It's on the way to Ares 4, and there is a valley that Mark has to get past with the rover and the trailer. And he does it in only the way that Mark Watney can do. And that's all I'm going to say about it, because it is only a chapter. It's only like 14 pages long or so. It's available on Andy Weir's website for free to read. It is not behind a paywall or anything like that, so if you want to read it. I will try and remember. Ed and Andy, please remember to put the link in the description so that other people can go and read it. If you've not read The Martian yet, please do that and then go and read that. As we all know, The Martian is one of my favourite books of all time, ever. I love it. I love Mark Watney, and yeah, so that's all I have to say about that. Speaking of Andy Weir, the next thing I read was Project Hail Mary, and I blame Rick for this because Rick mentioned that he was listening to the audiobook of Project Hail Mary and asked if anybody else had read it, and Vicky was like, oh, I think Andy has, and I was like, yeah, I've read the book but I've not listened to the audiobook. And Rick was saying that the way they had used tone, like the way they'd used the sounds effects and things like that for Rocky's voice was really interesting. So I downloaded the audiobook and ended up listening to it. This is a book, again, about space travel and about humanity, and this time it is about the sun. So the sun is dying and they can't work out why. There's this thing that's been found called the Petrova line, and it is a line of radiation, like IR radiation that goes between the sun and Venus, and it seems very innocuous until they discover that the sun is dimming, which is not good, because if the sun dims by about 10%, we are done for. And if by the time it gets to 10%, we're already done for. But like 10%, we are snowball Earth. We are done for. And so humanity obviously panics and starts thinking, what do we do? And so they discover that what's happening is there are these kind of microbes that are on the sun, and they are like taking up the sun's energy, and so they get all of these scientists from around the world to try and figure out what is going on. And one of these scientists, the first scientist that they grab, is Ryland Grace, who is a school teacher. And yeah, the reason that they grab Ryland is because years ago, while he was still in academia, he put forward that life did not need war. Like, that we were arrogant in thinking that our model of life was the only model. And I agree with that. Like, I do agree with that. We are arrogant in thinking that our way is the only way. Like, statistically speaking, there's got to be other ways to make life in the universe than, like, exactly how we make life. But that's by the by. He got laughed out of academia, and now there's this thing that is like feeding on the surface of the sun, and you'd think something that is feeding on the surface of the sun cannot hold liquid water. Liquid water at that temperature cannot exist. And so they pull him in because he's the only scientist that has ever had this theory. And unfortunately he discovers that it has liquid water, and so they put it out to the rest of the world. And then yeah, so you first start this book where you wake up with Ryland on this ship, and he has no idea what's going on. He has no memory. And you find out as he finds out what is going on as he regains his memory. And this book is so... I love this book. I love the fact that you gain his memory as he gains his memory. I do prefer, like, the time on the ship to the time in the past, but I understand why you need to know how he got there. And basically, he is on this ship called the Hail Mary, and it's called Project Hail Mary. The whole thing was called Project Hail Mary back on Earth. And if you don't know what Hail Mary is, it's basically like your last ditch effort to solve whatever's going on. Because, yeah, if we don't figure out what's going on with the sun in this book, we're dead. Like, everything on Earth will die. And so a Hail Mary is your last chance, and that is what Ryland is on, his last chance mission. Unfortunately, the two other astronauts that are with him have died, and he is quite literally Earth's last chance. This book, on reread, I loved it. The audiobook, again, was excellent. I would really recommend the audiobook. I need to stop talking so fast. And Ryland is a character. I absolutely love him. And Rocky is a character. Again, I absolutely love him. Like, I love their dynamic. I love the way that Ryland works through things. He's very much different from Mark. Like, you can tell that there's little bits of his personality that are similar to Mark Watney, but he is very much a different person and very much fleshed out in a different way. And I really appreciate that he can write these characters in a very different way. Yeah, I really do think Andy Weir has done a fantastic job. It's really funny that Andy Weir can be one of my favourite authors and also be one of the authors that gave me an existential crisis, because he also wrote this thing called The Egg. It's like a 3-page short story that almost sent me into a straitjacket. So, you know, it is what it is. Sorry. This is the point in the video where I get an angry message from Vicky. But yeah, excellent book. Love to reread it. And this is what I mean by I go totally off my TBR. Next up is another reread, and that is Red, White and Royal Blue, because of course after reading Boyfriend Material I had to reread Red, White and Royal Blue because I could not stop thinking about it. And I had this whole debate because I was like, do I watch it and consume it faster but get annoyed at the fact that the detail is not there, or do I take the time to read it and get the detail? And I ended up just reading it. Tori was like, just read it. You know you want to read it. You've been talking about it for like a month. Read it. And so I picked up Red, White and Royal Blue and read it. I picked up this version because this is an extra chapter in the back. This is the Waterstone Special Edition. It's just like the extra chapter. I don't even think I got a signed edition. No. It is an extra chapter and some nice end pages with a nice cover. Or the underside cover is nice. I'm not the biggest fan of this cover for reasons in Scottish. Yeah, so Red, White and Royal Blue, if you don't know what it's about, it is about Alex and Henry, who are the first son of the president, the first female president of the United States, and the Prince of Wales, who is the second son of the current sitting monarch of the United Kingdom at the time, respectively. And they have been enemies for a while, and when they are at the royal wedding for Henry's big brother, they have a little bit of a tussle and they ruin the £70,000 wedding cake, because that's not a waste of money, and they are forced then to spend time with each other to prove to the media that there's not a problem between the countries and that they are friends. But the thing is, Henry is gay. Not publicly, because that's not allowed, of course. And he has been in love with Alex for years. And Alex is thinking a little bit too much about, you know, it's totally straight, because this doesn't mean that this totally doesn't mean anything, because he's totally straight. Absolutely totally straight. Totally straight. Totally straight. Nobody thinks about it that hard, Alex. Nobody. If you're straight, you don't think about it that hard, Alex. And so they end up together. Of course they do. But they have to keep it a secret because politics. Frankly, homophobia and politics. Woo! And yeah, things get a little bit out of hand. But in the meantime, it's a good time because they are just the sweetest, most romantic, most dreamy couple. Like the emails they send each other. There's a couple in here where I just want to cry because, like they send each other quotes from letters from history where people send love letters to each other. And I can't with these two. I love them so much. Like the love that they have for each other is so prominent in this book. And the way they want to protect each other, and the way they want to stand up for each other, and the way they want to be there for each other, and the way they love the other people in their lives. Like, I cannot, like, these two. I just love these two. But yeah, I love Red, White and Royal Blue, and Alex and Henry deserve to be happy. And also the extra chapter. I just love it so much. Next up, I read A Demon's Guide to Wooing a Witch by Sarah Hawley, which is the sequel companion novel to A Witch's Guide to Fake Dating a Demon. Oh my god, that is so hard to say. And this continues straight on from that, but switches perspective to Callidia and Astaroth. Astaroth, who is kind of like the bad guy in the first one, and Callidia, who is the best friend of the main character from the first one. And Astaroth has gone back to the council and has basically been banished to the human realm, to our world, and is being hunted and falls literally kind of in front of Callidia. She doesn't realise who he is, but he's being attacked, and she does not like to see people being bullied, and is always up for a fight, and so she protects him, beats the other guy away, and then when she realises who it is, she's like, hell nah, I should have just left you to die. But she can't ever leave someone hurt, and so she's like, right, come on, I'll help you. And yeah, so they end up going on a quest to get his memories back, because he has no idea what is going on. He remembers his name, the name of the guy that's after him, and that he has some very important information, even though he can't remember what that is. He also knows that he is a demon and that he should not go to the hospital. Those are the things that he knows. Everything else, he does not know. And so they go on a quest to get his memories back and figure out what the hell is going on. I really enjoyed this. See, once I actually got going with it, like, it took me ages to get into this book, not because of the book, but because I just wasn't in the mood to read, and I was trying to force myself to read. Never do that, it's a bad idea, and I will probably do it again. But I like these two characters. I kind of think this one tried to push a little too much, like there was a little too much going on for this story. Like, it needed to, I don't know, it tried to do a little too much at once for me, but once it got like into gear, I really, really enjoyed it, and I really enjoyed the way that it dealt with the relationship that Callidia had with her mum, because at the end of the day, just because you are related to someone by blood does not mean you have to put up with their crap. You know, you don't owe anybody anything because they birthed you. And it's great that the author saw fit to show that, because yeah, it's true. Like, you don't owe anyone anything just because you relate to them. And that's pretty much all I can say, because I just keep saying that same thing in a different way. So yeah, really, really enjoyed this. I think on reread I will enjoy it more, because I just wasn't in the mood to read and I forced myself to read. But I still thought this was well written. I thought it was well done. I just kind of wish that it was a little bit, I don't know, I think it was me. So take what I say about this with a little pinch of salt, because I was in a little bit of a mood, you know. Next up, I read Daughter of Sparta by Claire M. Andrews. This is a Daphne and Apollo retelling, and is the start of a series. I did not know it was the start of a series when I picked it up, which is great. But it's fine, because it's a series where each book is also an individual story. There is, I think, probably an overarching story, but there's, like, you can just read the individual story. It is also more on the YA side, so it was very, very quick to get through. I feel like as a YA, it was very well done, very well told. It, like, kept your interest, kept going, kept pushing forward. The travel element of it, like, you were moving place to place to place to place to place. Like, it kept you going. It had Greek heroes in it. We had Theseus, we had Hippolyta, we had, obviously, Apollo, Daphne, who's a Greek hero. Yeah, this just kept going. Like, it really, really did. You went boom, 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 boom. Like, I cannot fault this for what it was. I just feel like I didn't get as much out of it because I've gone off YA. If I had still been into YA, this would have absolutely knocked my socks off. Because I've gone off YA, I feel like it could have done more. And that is a me thing, not a book thing. So for what it was aiming to do, I think it did brilliantly. This follows the story of Daphne as she is... So Daphne lives in Sparta, but she is not Spartan. She is an outsider. She was adopted into a Spartan family, but unless you are born in Sparta to a Spartan, you are seen as an outsider for the rest of your life. And so her family are always striving, trying to see, like, be better, be Spartan, be the best, and show everybody that they deserve to be there. And Daphne's no different. She always wants to be the best warrior, the best of everything that is Spartan. And she takes part in this race, which her brother is meant to take part in, and he doesn't show up. So she takes his place. And during this race, it's a race to catch this deer, which if you catch the deer and get the laurel that is on the deer, Sparta will have good crops for the year. And in doing so, she meets the goddess Artemis, who challenges her, or not challenges her, but sort of tells her that if she does not help the gods, the gods will die and Sparta and the rest of Greece will fall into chaos, basically. And chaos in Greece, in Greek mythology, is worse than like just, oh, it's a bit of chaos. Like chaos is bad, like a bad thing, like the end of it, end of days sort of thing. And so Daphne is like, can't the gods like fix their own messes? And Artemis is like, well, they're trying, but also no, because we need humans to work on Earth for us. But also, I've got your brother, and if you don't do it, I'll kill him. So Daphne's kind of strong-armed into it. And Artemis is like, my brother Apollo will help you. He'll be waiting outside of Sparta for you when you're ready. And so she goes on this thing with Apollo. They go and see Prometheus, who gives her a vision to give her knowledge of what's going to happen and where she needs to go. And so they go on this journey to these different places to find the muses who have been stolen. And without the muses, the gods have none of their immortal abilities. And yeah, it's basically just them trying to find the muses while being thwarted by this one particular god who is trying to, or not this one god, there's one god and her little minions who are trying to stop them. And I really liked it. It showed the side of the gods that you don't get to see in some things. Like Percy Jackson, a lot of the time the gods are very much like sweetened up, and in this even the gods that are on your side are shown to be duplicitous. Their duplicity is shown. Like in this, Apollo, you see Apollo for who he is, as someone who can be on your side and be loving and caring and a good friend, and yet he is also the person that sacked and ruined an entire city because one woman turned him down. You know, you get to see the sides of the gods that aren't always pretty, and that is what Greek mythology is all about. It's about these gods who are human-like and imperfect and can raise you up or crush you on a whim. And I think that Claire Andrews has done a fantastic job bringing that into a YA space. She's done beautifully. This was done beautifully for a YA book. If it was adult, obviously it would be a lot more gruesome. It would be a lot more, you know. I think she would have done a really good job. If she had written this as an adult book, I feel like she would have gone to town on some of the stuff. Like, I really think she would have done it some hell of a justice. Which is a compliment, by the way. Like, I really think she would have done well if this had been an adult. It is a YA, so she's done it as a YA book, and I think she's done really, really well. So if you still like YA, you want a good Greek retelling, I recommend this. It is a James Patterson Presents as well, so hey. But yeah, really enjoyed this. I don't know if I'll bother picking up the others, but if I start to feel like I want to read a good Greek retelling, I might do, because I do really like Daphne as a character. This is where everything kind of went a bit like pear-shaped. So I then picked up The Hating Game by Sally Thorne. I'm unsure if I've DNF'd a bit quicker. It's not, and the thing is, it's not the story. It's not the story. This story is basically the same as Spanish Love Deception, and I like the Spanish Love Deception. They're very similar, apparently, from what I've been told about the story, because obviously I didn't read the book. I did watch the movie. Very cringy. Like, I'm really not here for the movie. If you want to see my thoughts on the movie, go watch my vlog where I watched the movie. The writing style for the main character in this book. You know, I don't know what the TV show or the movie or whatever it's called, but the actress that played Snow White in Once Upon a Time, that plays that creepy looking 50s housewife, and I see it all the time on TikTok, where she's like the housewife, and like her husband's cheating and she's trying to like she's trying to do something. I don't know. I see it on TikTok quite a lot. And she's got that like serial killer like smile, and she has that like transatlantic accent. I can't do the accent, but you know, that transatlantic 50s accent. That's how I imagined this character, this main character, because that's how she was speaking in my head in this thing. I but as I was reading it, I was like, this is reading like a voiceover for a film. Like, it's reading like she wrote it as a voiceover for a film. And that would work really, really well. And it did work very, very well while I was watching the film. As the opening bit for the film, I was like, this is what it is. This is what she's done. This is perfect for the film. As a book, I was like, what? I just couldn't gel with the writing style. And then she was so, like, when she was talking about, oh, now we're playing the copying game. He puts his hand to his chin, I put my hand to the chin. He reaches for this, I reach for this. He does that, he raises his eyebrow, I raise my eyebrow. Like, Mum, how old are you? How old are you? Are you 10? Because you sound like you're 10. And I have zero sympathy for you because you are petty as hell. And honestly, like, I don't like you. I don't like you as a character. And I've read unlikable main characters that I can still read. But she was so petty, this main character, I don't even know her name, Lucy. She was so petty that I was just like, this is gross. And I don't like it. Like, at least in the Spanish Love Deception, she was petty and obstinate. Like, she was like loud and obstinate and petty, and she was like a larger than life character that was just like, she had personality. This was a 10-year-old who didn't get her way. And she was going to be petty about it. This was the kind of character that would like wait till he went away and like lick the top of his mug or something and then sit there and be like, he has no idea that I've done this. Like, this is what I was getting from it. And I was like, I actually seriously don't, like, she's the kind of person that I would imagine like pushing down a set of stairs and just watching her as she rolled. I could not, like, she made me feel physically sick thinking about her. I feel physically sick thinking about this main character now. And I only got 13 pages? 13 pages, and I think I read the first chapter of this book. And I was like, this woman is awful. Like, and she's got his, like, this day he wears this shirt, this day he wears this shirt, this day he wears this shirt. Girl, no. Like, get a hobby. Like, maybe focus on your job, not what colour shirt your workmate wears. Like, you're going on about how awful he is, and about how petty he is, and about how this, that, and the next thing he is, and all I'm seeing is you doing these behaviours. I don't need that toxic behaviour in my life, so no thank you, ma'am. No thank you, ma'am. And I watched the movie and it was just as bad as I imagined. Like, the characters were just as bad. Actually, it was a lot cringier than I imagined. And yeah, the less I speak about it. Next, I need to move on. And saying that, moving on, maybe not the best thing, because then I started All the Right Reasons by Bethany Rangel. I DNF'd this as well. At least I got like 30 odd pages into this before I DNF'd it, and then I skipped ahead to read chunks of like other bits to see if it got better. It didn't. I struggled with this writing style as well because it seemed like the writer was in a rush to get all of her thoughts onto the page and didn't quite finish a thought before she got the next one out. And I was just like, I can't follow this. Like, this is going too fast. I can't follow this. Like, I know I've just praised a book for going quickly, but it made sense. This did not. Like, things were happening at speeds where I was like, that's not physically possible. Like, you're breaking physics. Stop it. And then, like, a paragraph would be like half a thought, and then the next paragraph we're talking about something else, and I'm like, whoa, can we go back and finish this bit first? Like, it just all splattered out on the page, and there was no cohesive, like, thing to it. For me, like, maybe somebody can read this and make sense of it, but for me, I couldn't follow it, and I was just like, Like, I felt shell-shocked reading it, and it really, like, upset me because I really wanted to love this book. This book has some of the best representation in a book that I've ever seen. And the author is incredible. Like, she's amazing. I love the author as a person. And yet I could not follow her writing style. And I jumped forward to see if I could follow it later on, if I was just maybe hadn't picked up the start of it, like if she just maybe rushed through the start. You know, some authors rush through the start of their books to get to the point, to then like, and then they actually do the in-depth bit. Like another author that I'm going to talk about in a minute did that. She rushed through the start to then get to the meat of the story. Whereas some like will like lull you into the start of it and then go through it. But no, the whole way through I was just like, it was like, whoa, 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 like slow down, let me catch up. Like that's just what it was like. And the characters were so cardboard cut out that I couldn't get any sort of emotion attached to them. It was just like, I didn't care about the characters. Like I could not care less about what was happening to them. It was like they were all just like extras, and I really, really wanted to love this. Like I went in with the expectation of loving this, and I really, yeah, that was upsetting. So yeah, thankfully, I did enjoy the next book I read, so I'm just going to move on to that. So the next thing I read was The True Love Experiment by Christina Lauren, and this is the companion sequel to the Soulmate Equation, and this is about Fizzy, who is the best friend of the main character in the first one, and she is asked to go on a dating show by the producer, who is tasked by his awful boss to do a dating show because the production company he works at, their ratings have gotten low and they want to do something big and flashy to get their ratings up. And normally this producer does like sea life shows, like he does like shows about like, you know, like Discovery Channel type things. That's his bag. And he's like, what? They want him to do like a Bachelor style thing. And so he ends up picking Fizzy for it, and she challenges him to find heroes. So she's the heroine, he is to find was it 9 heroes or 8 heroes or something like that. There are archetypes. So you've got the vampire, the cinnamon roll, the hot nerd, the like there's all these different categories that they have to find. But because of the way they meet, and it's not great, they end up spending the first few months getting to know each other, and they start to fall for each other as he's setting this up. And so before it starts, they're like, we need to back off each other because we've obviously like developed feelings. And throughout the show, they are kind of back and forward trying not to fall for each other while she's getting to know these guys. And now in the background of this is the technology from the Soulmate Equation. So the production company, one person in the production company knows who all of these people are, like match-wise from this company, who do like the DNA matches for like their matches, like their love matches. But like it is, if you've read the Soulmate Equation, like it matches people based on their DNA, and they know who their matches are. But the point is that she goes on dates and things with them, and the audience have to guess who her best match is. And it's like he's struggling watching her with all these guys, and she's trying to force herself to move on to other people. And it's just an absolute like, oh, I love this. I loved it so much. There is so much pushed, like so much in this book. This again is one of those books where there's so much loaded into it, but I think it's done so well. Like he is a single father who moved to the area he's actually in because his ex-wife lives there with their daughter and they share custody. And him and his ex-wife get on famously. Like they were together for 6 months or less than 6 months before she got pregnant, and they decided to get married because she was pregnant, even though it was the worst decision they could have made. They were not meant to be together. Like they are best friends now, but you shouldn't get married just because you're having a baby. Like they work excellently as co-parents, but they shouldn't have been in a relationship. And yeah, like it goes over, like it talks about their relationship, his relationship with his daughter, like Fizzy's relationship with her parents and her culture and her siblings, and it's just, I really, really enjoyed the way this took on so many different things. Could it have gone deeper into those things? Absolutely, but then the book would have been like several thousand pages long. But the way it dipped in and out of different things to add to these characters, I think it did so well. And I don't know, I just love Christina Lauren. I really, really do. And I love this book so much. I love the characters. There was bits where I would have tweaked it slightly. It felt a bit off in some places. It didn't flow. Like, the flow sometimes felt a bit like jarring. But other than that, I absolutely loved it. And yeah. If, just a quick side note, Becca, if you're going to read this, talk to me first. Just quickly, come and talk to me first. Next up, I read End of Story and The Beginning of the End by Kylie Scott. So this is actually a bind up of End of Story and the novella, which is Beginning of the End, but if I can find it. So the novella is like a prequel novella, and this is about our main character Susie, who inherits her aunt's house after she dies, and 6 months before she had a horrible breakup with her ex, who basically announced to a room full of people that he was looking forward to moving to London so that he could sleep with anybody and everybody that would sleep with him. Well, you know, his girlfriend is sitting right there. And so when she hires a renovation company to come and help her with the house, it's his best friend that shows up. And she's like, excellent, it was not meant to be you being here. And he was like, yeah, well, it is. And so while he's taking down part of the wall, a divorce certificate falls out of the wall with both of their names on it from 10 years in the future. And they're both like, did you put that there? And they're both like, no, don't be ridiculous. And yeah, that happens within the first like 5 pages or so, like 10 pages. She really gets it. That's what I mean. Like, she doesn't even like play. She just gets into the story. Like, she is in. And so they're kind of stuck together because he's working on the house. And they start speculating about this divorce certificate. And it's like, well, the marriage would have ended because of X, Y, and Z. And they start like talking about the problems they would have had in their marriage and how they would like fix them. And like, they kind of like fix their marriage before they're even married. Like, they're not even remotely thinking about being together. But it's like, the more it's on their minds, the more they start considering this idea of them being together. And so, given that it's a romance novel, they start to get feelings for each other, and they start to, because they have to spend time together, because he's doing the work in the house and she works from home, like, they start to develop the feelings together. But obviously his best friend is her ex, and he comes back from London because things went tits up in London, and he is literally the worst. And this author, she's put so much thought into character names. Like, Susie's name, she's named after her aunt. The other main character, Lars, he has like Swedish ancestry, so his name is Lars. His brother's name is Tor, Tore. His father's name is Henning because it's his lineage that comes from that part of the world. His mum's name is Deborah, and then the ex-boyfriend, who is like an absolute piece of shit, who means nothing to anybody and needs to just disappear, is called Aaron. Like, the first name in the baby book, I swear she did that on purpose. And yeah, like, I love this book. This is one of those books where, like, it seems like absolute trash, and then something happens and you're like, my god, she was 10 steps ahead of me the whole time. She was setting me up for this, and I had no clue. This was excellent. Like, this book, I don't even know how to describe. I need someone to read this so that I can, like, I think I'm going to make Vicky read it, because I was telling her about it and she was like, what are you talking about? And I was like, you don't understand until you read it. Like, this is excellent. Like, the main character is fat and unapologetic about it. She's like, at one point, she's like at a pool party thing that Lars has invited her to, and she's like I think she's in a one piece, but with like a lot of side boobage, and she's like walking to the thing, and he's like looking at her, and she's like, why the hell is he looking at me? And then she's like, well, it's either my massive tits or it's my cellulite. Either way, F him. And she just keeps walking, and it's like, love it. Like, I love you, Susie. Like, she does not care. She's like, I'll wear shorts. I don't care, my thighs are huge. Like, I don't care. Like, she She has body confidence, but she has that underlying knowledge of, like, she shouldn't have body confidence because she's bigger type thing, which I don't see represented in a lot of fat people. I just see a lot of, like, I'm fat and I'm beautiful. Like, you don't get that or, like, you get the, I shouldn't feel beautiful because of, like, you don't get the, it's hard for me to, like, explain, but, like, it's not, the way it's done is something that I've not seen before, although I don't see many fat characters in books, so take that with a pinch of salt as well. This book is one where I'm like, it seems so trashy and so, like, poorly written, but then when the twist drops, you're like, wait a minute, did she have me going this entire time? And you start rethinking your entire life. Like you think you know what's happening, and then you don't. And it's like, and the characters are so well fleshed out. She's just, like, the author's just really blunt and to the point. Like, the fact that she did this in 275 pages just amazes me. It's so well done. I'm so happy I read this book. I absolutely loved it. Love the characters, love everything that's going on. And literally, this is, by blunt, literally, anytime there's a situation where she's like, how do I get these characters together? She'll literally hit someone with a car. Twice it happens. Twice. She just hits someone with a car to get them where they need to be. I genuinely think she's just like, how do I make this happen? Fuck it, I'll just hit them with a car. She says something with the car. It's really funny. But everybody's fine. They get hit with the car, they're fine. She just hits them with the car. And we are on the last book, and that is Love on the Island by Jessica Gilmore. This is terrible. Not the book. Me is terrible. I had this as a NetGalley arc, and I did not read it as a NetGalley arc. It actually got, like, taken back off me on NetGalley. I don't know how that works. I don't know how NetGalley works. But yeah, I ended up then buying it as a book. Obviously you can see it in my hand, or, you know, maybe if you're blind you might not be able to see it. I have it in my hand. This is, again, a book where I'm not entirely sure it successfully did everything it set out to do, but it was good. I liked it. It was a solid 4-star, and if it was a debut, which I think it was, then it was a hell of a debut. This is it's meant to be a romance, and it is and it isn't. It follows two sisters, one who has moved to Greece. Jade has moved to Greece with her boyfriend who she met in the Caribbean, working on a ship there, and they are now working at his cousin's resort, which he is about to open, and she's discovered that she's pregnant. Her boyfriend has proposed to her, and she's 22, and she is trying to prove to her sister that she is an adult and she can look after herself. Her sister is about to turn 30, and she lives in London with her boyfriend and has a perfect life. She has everything mapped out, and yeah, she is the one where everything goes wrong. So basically she is taken out to dinner by her boyfriend where she thinks he's going to propose, and of course he breaks up with her. Because that's just the way everything works. And so she finds out that night that her sister is engaged, and she's like, you what now? To a man you met 5 minutes ago? I don't think so. And so through sort of pondering and sort of things that go on, she ends up going to Greece to kind of talk her sister out of it. She doesn't know her sister is pregnant. Mikos, who is her sister's boyfriend's cousin, also doesn't know that her sister is pregnant. He also doesn't want them to be engaged because he thinks that, like, Nico isn't mature enough. Nico is the boyfriend, fiance. And so those two are like, we should probably convince them that it's a bad idea to get married. Like, they can stay together, they can, like, be together, but, like, getting married is not the answer here. And so they end up teaming up to try and do this, but they kind of end up not doing this because they see them together and they're like, actually they're kind of cute together, and then when they find out she's pregnant, they're like, maybe we shouldn't interfere. It's not like they're like, oh, well, you're pregnant, yes, you're getting married. You know, they're kind of like, oh, maybe we shouldn't interfere. Like, maybe we should just let them be adults and, like, make their own choices. But at the same time, they're gearing up this place. They're gearing up to have like 40 influencers come over to have a holiday, and Jade will be in charge of them and trying to wrangle them to get them to all their activities. And yeah, Mikos and Indy, who's the older sister, I don't think I said her name, end up spending a lot of time together, and obviously they fall for each other, but she's like, I just got to have a relationship, you live in Greece, I live in London, I just got a promotion, this is not happening. But, you know, things never work out how they work out. And it's just, it's not your straight up romance where it's like, she's like, I'm giving everything up to move to Greece. She doesn't. Even though this guy's literally a millionaire. Like, in a situation where you're in a romance novel and you can give up your life to go live on a Greek island with a Greek millionaire, with your sister and your mum who also live on the said Greek island, that is the choice you make in a romance novel. But not Indy, no. She's like, okay, we'll be together. I'll set up a spreadsheet for how we're going to visit each other. You can come back and forward to London, I'll go back and forward to Greece. And I'm like, girl, sack in your job, he's a millionaire. Like, I know that's very shallow of me, but it's a novel. Like, in real life, fair enough, set up a spreadsheet, do what you need to do. But like in a romance novel, she's too sensible for her own good. Like, but yeah, I love the way, again, the characters, so well put together. The Greek setting, just, I could feel the sun on my face, the sand under my feet. I could smell the air. Like, it just, I've never been to Greece, but it transported me there. And it made me want to go so much more. And it's set on Naxos, or an island off of Naxos, which is where Ariadne and Dionysus met, which is just like beautiful. And I don't know how to describe this. It goes between the two sisters' points of view, so that's what I'm saying about it being a romance, but it's not. So in Indy's chapter, you're getting the romance. In Jade's chapter, you're getting her sort of deciding how to be an adult. Like, she's trying to, she thinks she's an adult, but she's not. Like, she is an adult legally, but she's realising that she had a lot more maturing to do. She thinks she's an adult just because she's living on her own and she's engaged and she's pregnant, but that's not what makes you an adult. It's not what makes you mature. And she's learning very quickly that she actually does have some growth to do. And yeah, I really enjoyed that she has that realisation that no, you actually do need to do some work. I don't know. I actually really enjoyed this. I do wish you got more. Like, I feel like there's a little bit of disservice done to both sisters because you're not getting the full story from both of them. Which is why I think, like, as a debut, I think it's excellently done. But I would have liked... You probably could have doubled the size of this book, done a book from either sister's point of view, and it would have still been an excellent two-novel. Like, you could have done companion novels and done a tandem read, and it would have been... You could have got two full stories out of that. Like, done one from the sister and the fiancé, and done one from Indy and Miko's point of views, and I would have ate that up. So that's the only complaint I have, that I feel like it didn't give me enough. I would have wanted more from the characters, but that's because I love the characters so much. If that makes sense. I'm going to stop talking. One, because there's someone with a little piddly motorcycle outside that's going... And two, because I feel like I'm not making sense. I don't know if you can hear that, but it's just a little farty motorbike outside. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. I really hope that the raw footage of this is much longer because of pauses, and that I can cut this down because this is a very long video. Thanks so much for watching. If you want to leave me an emoji to let me know that you were here, leave me some sort of a little boat emoji for a little boat on here. If there's no boat emoji, leave me a love heart emoji. Pick whatever colour you want. And thank you so much for watching. I think I've already said that, but thank you again. And I will see you in my next video. Bye!